was an honor for me to work on this case, and to see it turn out such a complete victory. I've never seen a declination letter, which is what this is, so powerful. Mueller put in this thing about he didn't commit a crime, but I can't exonerate him. That is totally unprofessional. You're not supposed to say that. Then Barr and Rosenstein kind of knocked the obstruction thing right out of the park.
That's Rudy Giuliani last night, prime time, sounding off on the Mueller matter as lawmakers on the Hill draw their battle lines in the aftermath. Democrats still calling for investigations and the release of the full report. We may still see that. Republicans demanding Adam Schiff step down as chairman of the House Intel Committee for comments he has made repeatedly. Meanwhile, a political nemesis of the president is facing federal charges today. I want to bring in our headliner, Kellyanne Conway, counsel to the president. Thank you for coming back here, and welcome. We saw the president on camera a couple of times yesterday. Give us a sense in private about what he was talking about, how he was feeling yesterday.
You saw how he was feeling. He invited the press pool in, obviously, to cover Mr. Netanyahu's visit, and he had two availabilities there, and then the Capitals were here in town, a hometown winning team. They're celebrating their Stanley Cup victory from last year. The president is in a great mood, but he's been in a great mood for a very long time because, as he has said for a very long time, there's no collusion. This was a hoax and a witch hunt from the beginning. It really, and I have to say, as the campaign manager for the winning part of the campaign, I resent completely folks tacitly insinuating that some of us would cheat or steal or lie or do anything to cut corners at all other than to beat the woman who lost and shouldn't have lost fairly and squarely. So I noticed a lot in the media are trying to move on to policy now, calling me about health care and drug pricing and the drug crisis and criminal justice reform. And let's talk a little bit about the budget and the economy. That's great, but we've been trying to do that here for the 2+ years we've been here. And in that building behind me, this president has made incredible strides on behalf of the American people. People sort of just go over the economy, gloss over it like it's not important on some of these other networks. It's the most important thing to this country. And there are 157 million Americans working, a higher number than ever before. 58% of the new jobs have gone to women. You have record low unemployment, record growth numbers. This is what people care about. So those who are saying, quote, move on, they want to move on because they feel embarrassed. But look at these Democratic investigators. They don't want to move on. They don't want to get about the bipartisan policy of this country. They're not calling here today to say, let's work on drug pricing, infrastructure, keep this economy humming, workforce development. So instead, Kellyanne, they're saying, let's continue to investigate.
How does the president want to move on? Obviously, Republicans going on offense here. We saw that press conference with Lindsey Graham yesterday. He wants a second special counsel here. He's calling for investigating how this all began and what was happening inside the DOJ and the FBI to stop President Trump from winning the 2016 election. So has the president spoken with Lindsey Graham? How does the president want to see his party proceed here?
Those on Capitol Hill who are in charge of such investigations will continue forward and will be watching. But in the interest of, quote, transparency and accountability, two watchwords of the last 2+ years, let's see how this all started. Did we have people, in fact, at the top levels of the DOJ and the FBI trying to sit on the scales of justice to try to prevent Donald Trump from being elected president, and after he was elected president, trying to prevent him from taking office, getting that insurance policy, making fun of his voters, sprinkling their venom all over town, unmasking Mike Flynn? Let's see what led to the FISA warrant application being approved. Let's get to the bottom of that phony dossier that got this party started with the DNC and Hillary Clinton funding it, because I'll tell you, those people at the DOJ and the FBI at the time, they have besmirched the good reputations and integrity of the 25,000 to 35,000 men and women who work in that department and do their jobs honorably.
Would you put the former president in that same category? I asked you that because I know you went after Adam Schiff yesterday and you at the leading edge of calling him to step down as head of the House Intel Committee. I don't know if you're going to get your wish on that. James Freeman writes in the Wall Street Journal today about Mueller and the Obama accounting. He says the former president now owes the country an explanation for the historic abuse of government surveillance powers. Do you agree with that assessment?
I think we ought to know what happened in that last administration, and what we do know didn't happen is that the Obama administration and the president himself knew that Russia was trying to interfere in our election and did nothing about it. Why did they do nothing about it? Is it because they were sure Hillary would win, or they didn't want to deal with it in the last months of their administration? And then you get people running roughshod over the justice process at the FBI, trying to rob tens of millions of Americans their rightful voice at the ballot box by sitting on the scales of justice. So sure, let's at least see who did what when, because had she gotten elected, we would never know any of this. This may have been, so we know that no one in the Trump campaign was colluding with Russia, was talking to Russia. But do we know that the FBI, that a couple of bad actors at the FBI and the Department of Justice in the Obama administration, could we say the same about them? Wouldn't it be something if that's really where the collusion, the coordination, and perhaps the conspiracy was happening? But those who want to move on, they got this party started.
Kellyanne,
they had that phony dossier and have gone from there. So let's let it all hang out and let America. We're patient people. We'll be here for the next 6 years. So let's at least take the time so that America gets the full story.
There are growing calls for Adam Schiff to step down from his position as chairman of the Intel Committee in the House. I know you've made a similar call. Do you think that that's a reality, a possibility that could happen?
I made the first call, as far as I know, yesterday morning on your network. It could happen, but he certainly is somebody who loves power and loves to be on TV, there's no doubt. But for this person, given his position, to go on TV hundreds of times, I'm sure, and peddle this lie, and to people never to challenge him. He was on a Sunday show 2 short days ago. And so he's saying that there is, quote, evidence of collusion in plain sight, that he knew of evidence of collusion. Does he know something that Bob Mueller and a 22-month investigation that cost taxpayers over $25 million and resulted in 500 witnesses being interviewed, over 1 million documents being produced, and that had taken on many different chutes and ladders? It began about, quote, collusion and conspiracy with Russians, completely batted down, but it certainly went off in many different areas. And so if he's got evidence of that, put him under oath and let him tell us the evidence. But going on TV and having unfettered access to the media, giving blind quotes and quotes on the record, and then being the intelligence chairman, are we supposed to have faith in his ability to be a nonpartisan arbiter of what is right? And this is somebody who has access to the nation's
Kellyanne,
secrets.
we're running out of time here. Just one last thought on this matter with Michael Avenatti. He was one who put this administration in his crosshairs repeatedly on television. Do you have a thought as to what he is going through in court today in New York and also in California?
Well, I would say one thing about Mr. Avenatti that people quickly forgot, which is that they took him at his word many times, but they particularly took him at his word with this character, Julie Swetnick, who came out as the, quote, third Brett Kavanaugh accuser. And I see a pattern here. Kavanaugh, Covington kids, collusion, conspiracy, coordination. It's just rush to judgment, wishful thinking, imbue credibility on people who otherwise shouldn't have it in that time, place, or manner, because they fit with the narrative. They fit with the goal to get this president to try to embarrass and harass him, his family, those of us closest to him. And that is very irresponsible. And people should do, as I said yesterday, a lot of soul searching. I will tell you, there are a lot of people in media outlets today who are trying to knife each other in the same media outlets. That's going to be really fascinating to watch, because it's saying, I never gave him a platform. I didn't have him on my show. I didn't do that much on collusion. You all did. Guilty, all of the above. But do better next time, because of the patterns, and I've discussed this directly with the president, the patterns to the 2016 election where they all got it so chronically wrong, and instead of saying we're going to do a better job, they dived right into collusion, right into indictments, right into impeachment.
Right. Let's see what happens
so let's take a step back, and a deep breath. Thank you very much for having me.
I hope you come back. Kellyanne Conway from North Lawn. Thank you.
Well, joining us tonight, Congressman Matt Gaetz, a member of the House Judiciary and Armed Services Committees. Congressman, great to have you with us. And if I may, I'd like to start again with what seems to me to be the absolute essential question to be answered now, raised by Lisa Page in a text to Peter Strzok. And that is, POTUS wants to know all that we are doing. The talking points for Comey, Lisa Page says yes, because POTUS wants to know everything we are doing. Your thoughts on the implications and whether we will get to the bottom of what POTUS did learn, what he knew, and when he knew it.
Well, and of course, you're speaking of POTUS Obama. Lou, what we do know is that there was no collusion, no obstruction of justice, no wrongdoing by the president that would warrant an impeachment or a removal of any kind. But we have not applied that same level of scrutiny to the people who began this utterly ridiculous witch hunt to begin with. And we all know why this began. It began because we allowed political dirt, opposition research, written by someone who the FBI knew to be a liar, to masquerade as an intelligence document, to function as the basis to fuel an investigation dividing the country for 22 months. So we've spent 675 days, tens of millions of dollars investigating the president. Let's now apply that same level of rigor to investigating a process that was broken. And by the way, Lou, this will happen again if we don't fix it. If we don't fix the underlying problems with the secret courts and the surveillance and allowing politics to interfere with investigators, then it'll happen again, and that would be a terrible thing for our country.
I think this has been a terrible 2 years for this president, shackled as he was by these false charges, this conspiracy against him. And I don't think anyone should make any mistake whatsoever about what it was. This was an operation by the radical Dems to take down this president, to overthrow this president, to overthrow the Republic.
And possibly also to cover up for the real collusion that was happening through the Clinton Foundation, where untold sums of money were paid in exchange for influence with the State Department that a lot of bad people hoped would continue in their world where Hillary Clinton would have been elected president. That was the real collusion, the DNC, the Hillary Clinton campaign. Now, Democrats in Washington today are just going nuts, Lou. They're going through the stages of grief. First, you saw denial. I mean, I think Adam Schiff is still trying to maintain that the Russia collusion story is true, when we all know now what you and I have known for quite some time, and that it's bogus. We see the angry Democrats like Maxine Waters who are still pursuing impeachment, and then you just reported on the bargaining process, trying to act as though this is still legitimate by making demands on Attorney General Barr to produce on a timeline consistent with the Democrats. Give me a break. This entire investigation was a nothing burger, and now the American people know who's been telling them the truth and who's been lying to them.
And the radical Dems, the Democratic Party, owns this absolutely scurrilous plot against the president 100% and should be held accountable. How high do you believe that these treasonous actions by the radical left in this country, the Democratic Party, how high do you think they go? Do they go to President Obama, for example?
Well, when you look at the text messages between Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, they continue to reference the White House. So I don't know who in the White House was driving this, but I'm sure that it was very senior levels of our government. It was people who did not want to see Donald Trump elected president. We cannot allow outgoing administrations to launch investigations into their political enemies, because then they're doing what they accused Russia of doing. They're actually undermining confidence in our democracy by creating this huge dust storm of suspicion around a president who did not collude with Russia. And, so now you're going to see the Democrats go to 81 different investigations and probe every element of the president's life. Same witch hunt, different broomstick, Lou. Same group of people, and the American people shouldn't trust them.
I have to ask you, is this president, is his government, his administration going to put up with the nonsense that your Democratic colleagues in the House are attempting? Very quickly, we're out of time.
They should not do anything that distracts them from the important work they're doing to renegotiate trade deals, end wars, cut taxes, reduce regulations, and reinvigorate an American spirit that is absolutely on the rise. That's what I want my president focused on. He's focused enough on this bogus Russia witch hunt.
Yeah, and the president, just think of everything that he's done. I mean, you ticked off a list that basically he's already accomplished in the first 2 years, and now it looks like health care becomes a priority for the president and for the nation. Congressman, great to have you with us, as always.
Thank you.